Nani kama Kenya is a big headline on the front page of Taifa Leo, very apt indeed. Sisi ndio wale wasi.
Absolutely.
Mbona?
Best in Africa.
Best in
Second best in the world.
Believe you me, I think we're the best in the world. Ni vile tu wale wengine wakonga wengi.
You know, I saw somebody asking Grok, Ati Grok wale watu wa USA, ni wangapi wameshinda? Grok said 20. And then the guy told Grok, no, USA hununua watu. Wamenunua wangapi from Kenya, wamenunua wangapi from Uganda.
What exactly are you talking about? Is the World Athletics Tournament in Tokyo, Japan that came to an end yesterday. Kenya, ukiangalia gazeti, dhahabu ngapi? 6. Fedha 2. Shaba 2.
Dhahabu 7.
7. Hapa watu wamekosea. Kwani nafasi walikosa?
Actually wajakosea because somebody got 2. So they've said 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters.
Dhahabu 7. So
99 million Kenyan shillings from Tokyo Marathon. 100 million thereabout coming back home.
Hiyo ndio pesa wanapata na wakifika hivi.
Kila mtu
President Ruto pia anaongojea. Kama ulipata dhahabu milioni 3, wengine milioni 3. Kama ulipata silver milioni 2. Bronze milioni 1. Ile pesa inatembea hapa ita. Waacha tu. Anyway, this is the morning cafe. Karibu sana. My name is Fred Indebole.
My name is Ann Odida.
Alafu there's something else. Unajua kuna watu wengi walikuwa wamepanga vile 2025 watafanya hiki, watafanya kile nini. Well, kama jamani, you still have exactly 100 days to the end of 2025. Jipange. Siku 100.
11th hour.
Siku 100 za mwisho wa 2025. On the other hand, 94 days to Christmas. Hiyo countdown inaendelea na tulisema we shall not stop. All right, so the headlines this morning, very celebratory there on the front page of Taifa Leo. Nani kama Kenya? Tunakubaliana nao.
Daily Nation, CS, ex-spy master and 10 billion shillings home owners in distress. Lakini tuachane na mambo mingi. Kenya completes historic gold sweep from 800 meters to marathon.
All right, that's a Daily Nation. On the Standard, they stay away from matters athletics. They talk about a costly swindle. We'll be telling you more about that.
People Daily, how Ruto has silenced Kenya's loudest critics. Jamani, wapi Tokyo?
Hapa hawakuwa na nafasi ya hiyo maneno.
Hata kule tu. Okay, people in politics.
All right, on the front page of the Star, auctioneers smile to the bank as loans defaulters rise. And you see this headline, you'll see it also somewhere here. When citizens borrow to buy food, on the front page of the Standard. So you go up here, auctioneers smile to the bank as loans defaulters rise. That's a Star, but they also make mention of Odira, who bagged gold in Tokyo, Asawe and Wanjiru shone in Berlin. That's a different race. Kwa hivyo kulikuwa jana tu ilikuwa ni kishindo na vishindo kila mahali.
Business Daily, top banks fail CBK test on large borrowers default risk, and Lilian Odira on the front page.
All right. So we'll be back to take a look at these dailies in depth in a short while. And once again, a reminder of the panel that we'll be having at 6:30 this morning. As we take a look at the headlines, Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki-One administration, Senator Danson Mungatano of Tana River, and Wakili Kibe Mungai. They will be in studio for that discussion. Do stand by for that. Coming your way at 6:30. At 8 leo tuko na Monday Blitz.
Monday Blitz.
Watazungumzia hiyo maneno ya pesa zile Wakenya wanapata wakikimbia mbio.
Na jana kulikuwa na football pia, lakini the focus is on athletics.
Should be. Football tutaongea sana. Let's cross and go regional tuone wanazungumzia nini. And yes, the front page of the East African could not avoid to talk about the athletes.
Very beautiful girls.
East African runners shine at Tokyo meet there, and we have Kenya's Beatrice Chebet, who won the women's 10,000 meters. Is she the same one who won the other one?
The 5,000
meters. The 5,000 meters as well. And then, of course, Faith Kipyegon, tulisema hata hiyo race ya 1,500 meters, iandikwe tu ni yake.
Ni yake.
She also won a silver medal in another race.
In the 5,000, yes.
Alafu pia ameongeza Tanzania's Alphonse Felix Simbu, who won the men's marathon. Kenya hapa hatukufika hata top 10, lakini sawa. Inside Uganda's costly peace missions, that's the main story on the front page of the East Africa. They talk about taxpayers are using millions of dollars to keep soldiers in trouble spots amid queries on benefits of some operations. Wanangangana huko Somalia, wapi, pesa ni yao. KQ aborts Beijing route launch over spares crisis. We do have grounded Dreamliners, and the global spare parts shortage have forced Kenya's carrier to defer direct flights to China's capital. It's another story there. And finally, Tanzania traders demands to EAC boss. Business owners decry discriminatory taxes, immigration restrictions, and tedious payment system on the block. Kumbuka EAC kuna shida nyingi. Tanzania washaweka foreigners musifanye kazi fulani, kidogo watu hawalipi ile pesa wanafaa kulipa kwa EAC commission yenyewe. We're just all over the place. That's the East African.
20 specifics daily monitor in Uganda. Museveni Mafabi cleared 36 weight. The Electoral Commission has thrown 36 presidential aspirants into panic and frantic search for more signatures required to second their run for presidency. With less than 12 working hours left to kick off the two-day nomination exercise set for tomorrow and Wednesday. Election ziko January 26th in Uganda.
Alafu inamaanisha, so this week is going to be very busy. By the end of this week, we'll know how many out of the 36 will actually have got a nomination to run for president. In Tanzania tulipata ni 18 lakini mmoja bado ako na shida.
Bado anateseka.
So ni 17 so far. Wengine wakienda kampeni bado wanabembelezana na koti.
In Uganda, Besigye withdrew.
Yes.
Yes.
Even his party withdrew.
Okay. Besigye bail denial tops Kiwanuka Memorial Lecture. This is Speaker of Parliament Amita Among, Chief Justice Alphonse Owin, and Deputy Chief Justice Flavian Zeja among leaders here on the front page of this newspaper. Speaking about Besigye bail denial. Sugarcane farmers clash over council representation. How preventable blindness is robbing Ugandans of sight. On the top strip, we made term limits too easy to amend. Still speaking about Constitution Authority, this is Chief Justice Alphonse Owin, questions why lawyers and lawmakers didn't make it too more difficult to amend critical provisions such as the two-term presidential clause and the age limit. Strike a balance between learning and resting and a nationwide power outage nightmare. Jirani hawana stima.
Unajua hao ndo wanatuuzia stima. Lakini ni kama wako na
lakini sisi pia tunakuwa notorious.
Tunakuwa na mchezo sana lakini.
Anyway, that's the Daily Monitor this morning.
Staying in Uganda, you take a look at the front page of the New Vision. Museveni gives border cyclists mechanics 21 billion shillings. Usituke ni pesa ya Uganda. 1,200 NUP youth defect to NRM, vow to mobilize for support. So 21 billion shillings ndio inafanya wa defect. Wakaingia NUP kutoka NRM. Au waliingia NRM kutoka NUP. The other story here on the front page, of course, Museveni with another group hapa wameshika cheki ingine, Bank of Uganda anapatia watu hapa. Nafikiri ni pesa ilikuwa inapeanwa. 21 billion shillings for border people. Other quick highlights. AG Kiriowa, Chief Justice speak out on Besigye case. Ugandan scientists develop new goat breed. Wamekuja na yao mpya. Mao Mpuga withdraw from presidential race and battle for NUP MP flags hot up. That's the New Vision. Mars Uganda nomination for the presidency. Big news there. In Tanzania.
Tuvuke kule Bongo, BOT completes digital currency study, awaits government directive. This is the Bank of Tanzania. And it's awaiting government directives after finalizing a comprehensive study on the potential introduction of a central bank digital currency. BOT began exploring the concept of central bank digital currencies in January 2023, adopting a phased risk-based approach that reflects a cautious but progressive stance on digital monetary innovation. Matters business on the front page of this newspaper, lakini sioni yani mambo ya mbio kule Tokyo.
Hawana ni kama unajua apart from your gold medal hakuna.
Was it Botswana?
Simbu is Tanzanian, is the only one who got a medal for
Hata kama ni
jirani.
moja shukuru tu. All right, Tanzanian billionaire hits snag in Kenya's cement deal. My plan to unblock southern zone potential, that is Samia Suluhu. And it says here in Nyasa district, Tanzania, she will install a fish drying plant and a coffee holler. And she urged MPs and councillors to oversee those projects to ensure they benefit citizens and particularly create opportunities for youth employment. And Saya anaitwa CCM Union presidential candidate, Samia Suluhu. All right, Saudi Arabia pledges deeper economic and development ties. On the top strip, Tanzania lends 4 billion shillings horticulture exports deals with Asian countries. That's the Citizen.
All right, and being exactly 1 month and 1 week away from the elections, the Mwananchi is definitely talking about matters politics pale, lakini other stories given prominence as well. Kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi wanasema sakata ya wakili, jaji mstaafu awavaa polisi, akosoa hatua ya wakili kushambuliwa, polisi yaonya wanaochokoza askari, TLS yapanga maandamano. Jaji mstaafu Robert Makaramba anasema nilikuwa naangalia hiyo video kupitia mtandao, ilikuwa si tukio la kiutu, ni kudhalilisha. Sasa nadhani polisi wetu, sijui nini kimetokea. Kuna mikataba ya kimataifa inayowalinda wanasheria kwenye kazi zao. Polisi walikuwa wanavamia wakili. Kwingineko, migogoro vituo vya daladala ni pasua kichwa, habari yenyewe kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Masuala ya siasa sasa, Samia atangaza mikakati ya kufungua uchumi Ruvuma. Ahidi kufungua ukanda wa kusini, kuanzisha miradi ya ujenzi wa bandari, reli, barabara na viwanda vya kuongeza thamani ya mazao, kuiunganisha wilaya ya Nyasa na nchi za jirani. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Ni vile kampeni zinaendelea kule na ahadi pia zinazidi kuongezeka. Masuala mengine ya siasa, cha umma kupeleka neema maeneo ya vijijini. Na kwingineko, askari aliyedaiwa kuua mwenzake naye ajiua garini. Double tragedy. Pale juu, bilionea wa Tanzania kutana na vikwazo kuwekeza Kenya. Huyu ni yule anataka kununua kiwanda cha kuunda simiti. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
All right.
So we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in a short while. For now, let's take a look at the weather situation. And we continue seeing a trend where the warming up continues to be recorded. Relatively warmer weather in most parts of the country. We start off in Mombasa this morning, where it's also relatively warm. 24 degrees Celsius, feels like 26. It is a mostly cloudy day, but the sun will be out in all its splendor. This morning, they say it could get as high as 26 degrees as at 9, but in the afternoon, it will definitely get to 27. Later in the week, it will get to 28 degrees. So the warming up, that trend continues. And as far as precipitation is concerned, 1.3 millimeters in Mombasa today. Nyeri?
Weather in Nyeri, 13 degrees, feels like it this morning. It's a cloudy day. Highs of 23 degrees in Nyeri today in precipitation here. 2.1 millimeters. Kutanyesha kidogo.
Relatively warmer temperatures as well. On Thursday, it will get the warmest at 24 degrees in Nyeri. Up north in Garissa, it is quite hot, just like Mombasa. Highs of currently 24 degrees. Mostly cloudy day, but highs of 33 will be recorded, especially in the afternoon hours. A bit of precipitation expected in Garissa today, 0.9 millimeters. And this warm weather will continue throughout the week. 34 ndio itakuwa average ya highs kule Garissa. Nakuru, Rift Valley.
14 degrees in Nakuru this morning, feels like 13. It's a partly cloudy day. Partly, lakini it's a very cloudy day. According to this projection, highs of 26 degrees and precipitation here 0.2 millimeters.
Even for Nakuru, 26 is actually very high, and it will get even warmer. By Thursday, it will hit 27.
Kisumu is hot. Ata before ufungue.
Unajua tu ni hot.
I was there yesterday, burning.
Okay. Kisumu hapa, 19 degrees Celsius. Feels like 25. Your difference ni kubwa. They say it's a partly cloudy day. Chances of rainfall bit high later in the afternoon. Highs of 28 degrees, which is warmer than even Mombasa. Yeah. So it will get warmer throughout the week. Highs of 29 degrees Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So today is actually the coldest day at 28 degrees. Kisumu munaungua. Chances of rain 2.4 millimeters. Hii ndio ile wanasema hiyo jua ni ya mvua ile ya Kisumu.
Finally, weather in Nairobi, 14 degrees as we speak, feels like it. It's a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 25 degrees. Precipitation here today is 3.2 millimeters. Inafaa kunyesha. Vumbi imekuwa mingi Nairobi.
And it actually promises to get warmer as the week progresses. By Thursday, Thursday inakani kama it will be the warmest day across most places. Tumeangalia kila mahali. Thursday, it's a degree higher kila mahali. So yes, relatively warmer temperatures across the country. Let's take a look at the Monday traffic today as people return to work. Incidentally, MPs are also coming back to work this week, both the Senate and the National Assembly after a month-long recess. Unajua, they went on recess immediately after waliambiwa they are corrupt by the president. Walikuwa wamekasirika alafu wakaenda break.
Hiyo mioto ishatulia.
Ishatulia bure kabisa, wanarudi sasa. Walikuwa wamesema in fact, sijui any legislation coming from government will defeat it. Let's see. Si mnarudi, tutaona tu kesho. Hiyo privatization ya KPC itakuwa kitu ya kwanza au kupitisha. Traffic. Most of the routes into the CBD are looking green this morning, but yes, the usual trouble spots kama pale Pangani tunaona it's building up nicely at exactly 6:15. Thika Road, pale Allsops, I can see a stretch of yellow from that deep after Garden City Mall. before you get to KCA University, there's a stretch of yellow there, meaning there's slow traffic up. So this could eventually affect people coming from Outer Ring Road, those who want to join Thika Road, a bit of slow traffic there. But up the northern part of Thika Road, nothing much from the Eastern Bypass, Wiru Githurai, KU, Kasarani, iko sawa. Pale Pangani kama kawaida. Kiambu Road leo ni green all the way, mpaka Pangani. Jogoo Road, a bit of traffic on Makadara, nothing out of the ordinary. Shauri Moyo pale traffic kidogo before you get to the City Stadium roundabout. Machakos, Landis Road pale iko sawa, and then a bit of yellow once you get to Haile Selassie Avenue. Other than that, traffic wengine iko sawa, hata zile maeneo za fedha, sioni traffic. All the way from the airport, if you're using Mombasa Road, it's looking green all the way into town. On this other side, Southern Bypass, Langata Road, Mbagathi Way, which is known as Raila Odinga Highway. Prestige Plaza, Ngong Road is looking green. And so is Wayaki Way. So ni kama typical Monday traffic, isipokuwa watu wa Thika Road peke yao, au wengine hakuna pressure.
All right, let's have the quote of the day.
Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come without leaving happier.
Nani kama Kenya, that's a big headline on the front page of the Taifa Leo. Let's now come back and take a look at the local dailies. Yes, so Kenya may be the equivalent of about one. I think the closest we can come in terms of size is probably the state of California, yeah, in terms of size. But in terms of medals, sisi ndio tunapeleka hawa. They only had 14 gold medals, America, but Kenya had 7. So hiyo na size yao yote walishindwa kupata mingi zaidi. Aoni aibu hapa ati Kenya iko second.
Amenunua.
Aibu hata kuwe na aibu. Na Canada, which is even way bigger than us, wako na 3 peke yake. Hapa ndio watu tunasema tuna flex. And that's a focus on the front page of Taifa Leo. Nani kama Kenya? Vijana wa nyumbani wamaliza bora Afrika na nambari 2 duniani, huku wakivunia takriban shilingi milioni 100. Pale tuwataje majina. Faith Kipyegon anapata 12 million. Yeah? Beatrice Chebet, huyu alishinda races 2. Anapata 24 million. Emmanuel Wanyonyi 12 million. Lilian Odera 12 million. Peres Jepchirchir 12 million. Faith Jerotich 12 million. Faith Kipyegon anapata nyingine, unajua pale ashapata 12, hapa anapata nyingine 6.5 million.
Yes.
Dorcas Ewoi 6.5, alafu wale wa Shaba 3,000 meters, Edmond Serem 4 million, and 1,500 meters Reynold Cheruiyot 4 million shillings. Ukihesabu hiyo pesa yote kitita, milioni kama 100 hivi.
Yes.
Sema maswali ya ubabe kwa mara nyingine. Nasema kwa mara nyingine tena Kenya imefanya ile maneno. Taifa hili lilitikisa dunia kwa kushika nafasi ya 2 nyuma ya Amerika katika riadha za dunia zilizomalizika jana jijini Tokyo, Japan. Hapa ndio tunasema yenyewe, congratulations team Kenya. Pesa ni zenyu, but the pride is ours.
Absolutely.
Alright, tukisahau masuala ya pesa, na hii ile inasema jumla ya pesa ambazo Wakenya walituzwa kwa kushinda nishani au kwa kushiriki na kumaliza katika nafasi bora. Kenya iling'ara katika mbio za mita 800 wanaume na wanawake, 1,500, 3,000, 5,000 na 10,000 pamoja na marathon kwa wanawake. Na hii ni ile pesa wamepewa Japan. Wakija Kenya, rais anaongojea na kitita chake. Kama ulipata dhahabu, milioni 3.
Yes.
Fedha milioni 2, shaba milioni 1. Hata watafanya
silver, shaba ni bronze.
watafanya wale Harambee Stars wasikie, kwani ile pesa haikutosha.
Actually, you know what happened? This 3 million, 2 million and 1 million came after President William Ruto's promise to Harambee Stars. So I think it was it Beatrice Chebet who asked the president now that he's doing that for Harambee Stars, then they should also increase their stipend up. Beatrice
Chebet nikaa alikuwa anajua Kenya anafanya. Kama amepata 24 million Japan, kuja apate 6 million hapa Kenya. Sababu amepata gold mara 2. Inafika 30 million. Clean. Kazi ya mwezi moja.
You know, it has actually increased from 750 million shillings to 3 million. From 500 to to 2 million. And then I think from 350 to 1
Wee,
million for
wameingiza pesa
dhahabu,
nyingi.
fedha and shaba.
Anyway, as we say, pesa ni yenyu, pride ni yetu. Pale juu masuala ya siasa, tukitoka kwa masuala ya mbio, Muslim Brotherhood marufuku, Kenya yapiga marufuku kundi hilo pamoja na Hizb ut-Tahrir, masuala ya usalama. Lakini kwenye siasa, UDA ateua waniaji Malava na Baringo. Ndakwa kuwania Malava, Chemitei akiwania useneta Baringo. Masuala ya siasa pale, habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Daily Nation, CS, ex-spy master and 10 billion shillings home owners in distress. Lakini wacha tu nianze na hii ya sports. Kenya completes historic gold sweep from 800 meters to marathon. And Kenyan track queens completed a remarkable sweep of the world titles, with their compatriot putting the icing on the cake by winning the men's 800 meters race. The women's. Hii hapa wamekosea. Ama men's walishinda ni mimi nawaone.
Tulipata ile Emmanuel.
Oh yeah, Emmanuel Wanyonyi. Okay. 800 meters race to place Kenya second in the medal standings after the United States, the Global Athletics Championship that closed yesterday in Tokyo, Japan. Perez Jepchirchir, Beatrice Chebet, Faith Kipyegon, Faith Cherotich, Emmanuel Wanyonyi, and Lilian Odira. The story is on the back page of this newspaper, Kenya Rise Athletics History. Odira smashes 42-year-old championship record to empathetically claim women's 800 meters gold. We have 11 medals after USA, wako na 26 medals. CS, ex-spy master and 10 billion shillings home, again, owners in distress. Relief, buyers obtain interim court orders blocking the planned evictions. In 2014, Deliverance Church clerics informed the congregation during a service in Nairobi about a potential land investment. Prospective investors bought into the project, paid at least 2.5 million shillings for 8-acre plots, and built their dream houses on the land in Ruiru, Kiambu. But a decade later, they are staring at huge losses after a court ruled their title deeds are fraudulent, since the land belongs to the family of former spy Chief James Kanyotu.
Sasa kama hata ukinunua shamba kupitia kwa kanisa inapotea, watu watanunua wapi?
This story is on page 2 and 3. Huyu CS ni nani? Ndio najaribu kuangalia.
Ndio huyu amewekwa picha hapa wa lands.
Yuko hapo. Alice Wahome. Alice Wahome. Na unajua tuko na mgeni studio friend. Sijui huyu.
There's some wildlife in studio today. I don't know what's happening.
All right, that story is on page 2 and 3. Matiang'i takes on Ruto as 2027 rivalry escalates. Another story is on page 6. I don't know that I'm saying, unajua hii serikali inatubeba, sisi si wajinga, something along those lines yesterday. Commentator urged presidential aspirant to take clear stand on his party choice. And according to Matiang'i, anasema we were accused of many things, including meeting at a hotel to scheme against Dr. Ruto when he was deputy president. And former CS tells Ruto to release reports of investigation into claims that they plotted to kill him before 2022 polls. All right. On the top sweep, Kenya's Golden Stars conquer the Berlin Marathon. This is Sawe and somebody else. What's her name? Yes, we have 2 other golds from Berlin Marathon yesterday. Obado allies lose 500 million shillings properties. Another story is on page 3. And that's the Daily Nation this morning. All
right. From the Daily Nation, we cross over to the Standard. They talk about a costly swindle. Unajua pale wamesema kuna watu wamekuwa swindled out of their land, si ndio? Sasa hapa kuna nyingine. Breach of contract. Kenyan taxpayers now face the risk of a 10 billion shilling penalty after a cancelled dam contract turned sour. British firm GBM Engineering has petitioned authorities, saying it was cheated out of a deal to finance and build the Grand Falls Dam on River Tana, a project meant to boost Kenya's power supply. The deal, signed under former President Uhuru Kenyatta, was scrapped in July by the Ruto administration. Now plans to revive the project with a different contractor are raising fresh trouble. You can read more on that on page 4. But the worrying story is there hapo juu on the front page. Wanasema when citizens borrow to buy food. Yeah, pain of Rutonomics, they call it. Kenyans now borrow more than 13 billion shillings a month from digital lenders, mostly to put food on the table. It's a stark picture of a nation struggling to survive, with families left juggling empty plates and empty wallets. That story is on page 5 of this paper. You talk about tough times force Kenyans to borrow to eat. And most Kenyans are on the verge of desperation financially. Kenyans are borrowing more than 433 million shillings daily from digital lenders, painting a picture of cash-strapped population that cannot make ends meet. That's a big story there. Kwa standard. Nyuma, walk like a champion. Kuna picha ya Lilian Odera celebrating winning the women's 800 meters final yesterday. As the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan came to an end. Meanwhile, Sawe and Wanjiru triumphed in Berlin. That's another story. Tutaipata tu, tutakutana nayo, tukizidi kuangalia magazeti. The Standard.
People Daily, how Ruto has silenced Kenya's loudest critics. Amason Kingi, Fikirini Jacobs, Ali Hassan Joho, Hassan Omar Hassan, Peter Kaluma, Professor Makau Mutua, and I was hoping to see Kasmu Makuri.
Yeah. Hata Raila Odinga si alikuwa one of his biggest critics. Mbona wote wako kwa box yake sasa.
How Ruto has silenced Kenya's loudest critics.
This is actually true. This is true.
Very true.
Hawajaonewa hapa.
Tunashukuru this newspaper. We understand this space might have been too small to include all of them. Like in the stories on page 6. On the top strip, ODM struggling to get candidates in Nyamira County ahead of the November 27 by-election. Another story on page 7. People in politics, People Daily.
Right. From the Political People Daily, we take a look at the Star, talks about another problem, something similar to what we've been seeing there. Auctioneers smile to the bank as loans defaulters rise. And you realize, pale kwa Standard wanasema watu wanakopa pesa kutoka kwa digital lenders kununua chakula. Sasa hao wenye biashara, sasa number of businesses facing the hammer also increases. Let's read this story on page 4 and 5 of the People Daily.
And the interest rates zinakuanga juu sana.
Wamekataa kupunguza. So, Auctioneers Paradise, na kuna picha pale ya gari moja inachukuliwa na watu wamekuja kuibeba auctioneer sasa. A SACCO official says selling properties such as land and cars is a challenge as buyers are scarce and amid defaulted loans. Auctioneers are the ones celebrating. Pawning or auctioning luxury items was for years the last resort for Kenyans caught in temporary financial distress. Jewelry, electronics and high-end furniture often ended up on the stores of Shylocks and auctioneers, only to be reclaimed when fortunes improved. But today, a new and troubling reality is taking root. A growing number of Kenyans are being forced to auction off their basic household essentials, beds, seats, and even kitchen units in a desperate attempt to make ends meet. Your story, page 4 and 5, nafaa uisome kama Mkenya, uelewe mambo inaenda namna gani. Okay, fine, wameweka some space to celebrate our athletes. Odira bagging gold in Tokyo. Nako pale na ameweka ile kidole moja hapo, watasema sijui alisema nini. Hapana, yeye alikuwa anasema ni number 1. Lilian Odira winning the 800 meters at the World Athletics Championships. Na hapo kando, Sebastian Sawe wins the BMW Berlin Marathon 2025 and Rosemary Wanjiru triumphs in the same race. Tulichukua both men and women. All right. Another story given prominence on the front page. Hospital fees, fuel counties revenue as SHIF debts pile up. That's the Star. Fresh, independent, different. If you have 60 shillings, you can grab yourself a copy of this paper.
Finally, Business Daily, top banks fail CBK test on large borrowers default risk, and Kenya's 6 largest banks would require at least 190.4 billion shillings in fresh capital if each of their top 3 borrowers were to default on loans, underscoring how exposed they are to corporate customers at a time when defaults are on the rise. Anasema a stress test conducted by the CBK in May to gauge the stability of the banking sector revealed that the big banks were the most at risk if top borrowers defaulted, with the 6 largest lenders carrying 86.3% of the total industry exposure. That story is on page 2. So not only digital lending apps that people are defaulting, also kwa banks, people are defaulting over there. 61 banks most at risk from loan concentration. Court battle signal growing pain from corporate loans. Other stories here on the front page of the Business Daily. Lilian Odira breaks 42-year-old record. Gold medalist Lilian Odira is here celebrating winning the women's 800 final at the World Athletics Championships. Again, anasema tu number 1. After 42 years, lazima tu angesema number 1. Microinsurers net 1 billion shillings premium in 6 months. Another story on page 8. On the ticker, budget controller wants pending bills classified under public debt. And Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango has stepped up her push to have counties pending bills considered as public debt in a bid to control further growth and hasten settlement. Banks to own 75% of credit guarantee firm and heavy T-bills. Uptake cuts maturity of domestic debt. That is heavy treasury bills. That's the Business Daily this Monday morning.
All right. Now, once again, a reminder of the panelists that we'll have at 6:30 this morning: Kipruto Rapkirwa, Danson Mungatana, and Wakili Ukibe Mongai. Coming your way in a few minutes. Tuangazie wachoraji wanasema nini leo asubuhi hii before we take a look at some of your feedback. And the cartoon on the Star, that's the first one we have. Kuna watu pale wanapiga somersault kweli kweli. Na wengine, kuna jamaa mmoja anapiga somersault, lakini wengine wote wanamwangalia, na hawa ni wengi ni politicians. So jamaa siku moja akasema I will be a fool to support Raila for the third time. Unakumbuka huyo? Alafu tena akasema I will be on the ballot, but he wasn't. Na hapa alisema hivyo lakini akamsupport. Na hapa akasema I won't join Ruto regime. Kwani huyu mchoraji anataka kusuggest that he'll go back on this statement? Because he went back on this statement. He supported Raila. He said he'll be on the ballot. He wasn't. Now he says he will not join Ruto regime. Will he? That's the question. Why party leader Kalonzo Musyoka doubts again? People are unfair to this gentleman. I don't know. That's the cartoon on the Star.
This is Daily Nation. Speaks about the Tokyo Marathon 2025. Our winners are coming back. Of course, wanakuja na goodies, gold medals, lakini zingine zinawangoja hapa. 3 million. Naona ziko hapo some bonus. Hiyo inanikalia to that bag of 3 million. 1 million kwa shingo, another 1 million, another one.
So inabidi atoe ile medal alikuwa amewekwa shingoni yake kando, aekwe ingine ya mita milioni 3.
Yes. And of course there's some bonuses for silver as well, because silver wanafuata hiyo gold nyuma.
Ndio hapa chini.
Yes.
All right.
2 million.
Daily Nation cartoon. The Standard today, kuna jamaa hapa na kuna kipara anaitwa Rufa. In ile ya Private Hospitals Association. Yeah. Anazungumzia huyo mgonjwa. Mgonjwa ako pale amechanganyikiwa. Anaambiwa from today you shall you shall pay cash or move to public. So kama umpeleka mgonjwa yani kwa hospitali ya private, wanakuambia sisi kama unangojea shai kulipie, utalipa cash.
Actually wanaenda strike.
Ama uende kwa nini kwa public hospital.
Yes.
Wameamua.
Finally,
People Daily.
People Daily. By elections ahead. Kuna mtu punda amechoka. Punda ni IEBC has been caricatured. IEBC has been caricatured here as a punda ambaye amebeba mzigo pale. By elections ile ya November 27, lakini inaulizwa kama buy.
Kuna buy ya kununua. Buy elections.
Ni swali punda anauliza. By elections or by elections?
Right. So these are the cartoons this morning. Zinaangazia nini? Na is that an indication of what we should be talking about going forward? All right. Let's get some feedback.
All right, Gladson Obwamu, sasa hapa kila mtu ako mambo yake. Fred ni one time. Wewe koma kabisa. Huku ana
amesema.
Good morning great people. Koma kabisa lakini good morning to you. Frank Francis Okanga anasema ready for the new week. Niko ndani. Rogers Nyariki anasema katika Amsterdam, Netherlands. Kutoka Amsterdam, Netherlands. Niko tuned in. Very nice. Baba Kaume anasema we are in. Lameki Bakari watching live from Karen, Nairobi. Scooby Aso, good morning wadau. Leo Fred hashikiki. Sisi tulilimwa na Man U lakini ni sawa tu.
Ni ukweli sishikiki.
Murimi wa Musakuthi. In. Thank you for watching. Ndani kabisa anasema Kutus Kirinyaga tuko pamoja sana. Daktari Yusuf Kienyeji anasema watching live. Lameki Bakari anasema Karen pamoja sana. Bonventure Mwesiba nafuatilia nikiwa maeneo ya Kirwa, County ya Kisii. Thank you so much for watching and for waking up with us this morning. Lakini don't go too far. Interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on TikTok.
On TikTok ni TV47. Instagram as well, TV47 Kenya. But ukija X, inakuwa TV47 Digital. My handle on X is at Freddy Ndimuli.
My handle is at @Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47. Stay with us.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upward, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something...
All right, welcome back and good morning once again. This is TV47 Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indimuli. We now want to take a look at the big headlines today, and of course we cannot ignore the big one that's on the front page of Taifa Leo, Nani Kama Kenya. And this is just the indication of what happened in Tokyo at the World Athletics Championships, where Team Kenya came second overall after bagging 7 gold medals and 2 silver, 2 bronze medals. To actually rank second overall after the United States of America. Definitely a big celebration. Most of the front pages have this. We have it on the front page of The Star, the front page of the Daily Nation, the front page of the Business Daily, and the front page of Taifa Leo. And probably that's where we start with my panelists before we start talking about the other current affairs. This morning we're privileged to have Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki 1 administration, and before that as MP of Cherangani. Karibu sana Bwana Kirwa.
My pleasure.
Next to Bwana Kirwa, we have Danson Mugatana, Senator Tana River County. Karibu sana, Senator. And Wakili Kebo Mungai joins us this Monday as well. Gentlemen, karibuni sana. And of course, I'm sure you would also want to take an opportunity to congratulate Kenya's athletes following their heroics in Tokyo, Japan. Let's start with you, Bwana Kirwa.
Well, Fred, thank you for hosting us. And let me join many Kenyans who are celebrating the win by Kenyans. It is not a mean feat for them to attain some of the positions they did. 7 gold and overall 11 is something that is worth celebrating. You realize the next country, which is Canada, was far number 3 with only 3 goals. But what is important insofar as athletics and sports are concerned is what we have repeatedly said: we need to have serious policy consideration so that we reward every talent that a Kenyan has. In so doing, I expect the monies that they will have won in this athletics competition is not going to be subjected to taxation. I say so because in many countries, sportsmen and women earn some kind of retirement package from the effort of theirs throughout the period they are in athletics competition. Because to be an athlete, your lifespan can hardly go beyond 8 years. If you are lucky, you may get to 10 or so. And this therefore means many of our sportsmen and women who have done so well in the past, they have not been rewarded in their real life. So I do expect, other than what the president did the other day, by rewarding those who won, those who are playing in the CHAN games, I'm not even asking for some kind of reward for them directly. I'm only worried because some of the promoters will take some of this money, and when they get here, Kenya Revenue Authority will be waiting for them as if this is money that they earned out of doing nothing. I strongly believe in Ethiopia here, and that is a very typical example, is that when a sportsman or a sportswoman wins certain amount of money, they actually advance him a soft loan and direct him to the kind of investment he can do or she can do to earn a living in real estate. For example, Kabre Haile Selassie and Kananisa Bekele. Haile Gabre has about 4 hotels in Addis Ababa and 1 in Awasa. And Kananisa Bekele, because he has been on and off for quite some time, there was a building that he was putting up. And what they do, it is when you get the first client, if it is a hotel, for example, that now they levy you the kind of, you repay the loan. Otherwise, they freeze interest for the period you are building, and once you are through, they release that. I feel this is something that can be put into policy so that we just don't use knee-jerk reaction. Today you are rewarding this team, tomorrow you are not rewarding the other.
Okay.
Yep.
Senator, it's very interesting that sports over the past 1-2 months has come out as one of the best paying for Kenyan sportsmen. We saw the Harambee Stars and the money they made. Now, if you look at the breakdown on the front page of Taifa Leo, talking about how much money these winners made in Tokyo, Japan, it's very impressive. One of the athletes made 24 million shillings in Japan, and they expect more from the president once they arrive back home. But what is lost on many people is that the advancement of sports in Kenya is still yet to be properly structured within what we do. And many people may not know that sports is actually a devolved function, that it is counties that should be promoting sports. Do you feel that there's a gap, there's so much we still need to do to actually mainstream sports so that more people can actually earn through their talent?
First of all, I want to congratulate the team that was in Tokyo. We are so proud of you. One of my favorite athletes that we watch as a family is Faith Kipyegon. So there was, in one race, I think she got friendly fire from one of our own when she was peeped and she became second, and we were a bit sad. But we are happy to see that she also went on to meet the to win the 1500 meter gold. Yeah, so I believe the president will also show our appreciation as a nation, like he did for the football team. I'm particularly proud of this president because he has really come out to boost sports. For the first time, we have a president who has really gone out of his way to show that actually there is a way that our young people can earn a living. But let me dwell on this issue of the sports in counties. We as senators are supposed to be oversighting counties and protecting counties at the same time. One of our main functions is to make sure that monies are devolved to the counties. But unfortunately, when the monies come to the governors, it is not part of our mandate in the Constitution to make arrangements how much money goes to which functions. But yes, you are right, sports is there. Unfortunately, most governors would put money for, first of all, salaries and recurrent expenditures, and then the development vote is very little, as usual. And they would put it maybe in agriculture, whatever, their priority project. But then when you come to sports development in counties, it's just not in my own county in Tana River, but across, the budgets for sports development is very low. It's very low. And in my own county, we have some teams that are they're playing in second division. And every time we are doing fundraising. And I remember the last one we did was last month when we had our own minister, Salim Mvurya. I invited him to come and support one of our big teams in the second division. And he didn't come in person, so I ended up being the guest of honor, but he sent us a good contribution to support that team. So we have decided as senators to pass a bill that would force governors to put a small percentage of the development vote into sports, because we believe that if this is done, then they will develop sports across the counties. So this is our thinking, and there's a bill that is being processed in the Senate, and I hope that it gets the support that it requires. Many of us, I think, agree with it. But the proposal is that some monies should be, ring-fenced for development of sports in villages, in whatever, creating sports academies, having nice sports complexes. We appreciate what the national government is doing because they got some money and they are putting up stadiums and sports complexes in counties, and it's supposed to go in phases. But strictly speaking, that grant will come to an end. And like's been said before, what we need is something that is sustainable, a policy or law that is sustainable. It means that in 10 years, we still know there's this money which will develop soccer in our villages, basketball and games like athletics and so on. So from our side, that's how we are looking at it, and we hope that once this becomes law, then it will set a standard for the rest of other games.
Right. Wakili Kibe Mungai, you've seen how the president has acted and his interaction with sportsmen and women, especially the Harambee Stars during the Chan tournament. And he faced some criticism that he's purely seeking to extract political dividends from that. Probably even in his welcoming back home these athletes from Tokyo, he'll do the same. Are we saying that beyond the politics or political optics, there's nothing else to be gained from this? Because as we were discussing, Senator, this is supposed to be something that's across the country from the county level. But all we are seeing these discussions is only at the national level.
Yes, it's true. And I start by congratulating our athletes for their very marvelous performance. And when you look at that performance, much as we must appreciate it very much, you start also imagining it could have been better if our men traditionally, you saw like all the goals, the women have overperformed. I don't even think there is any other set of women or men who have performed as well as the Kenyan athletes have, sweeping all the long distances. I think it's an incredible performance. I congratulate them and the entire team. And of course, I would like to hear exactly what are the good reasons that compared. You know, a long time ago, almost all the medals would be won by our boys. But now, for the first time, I saw there is that difference. And probably we shall hear why. I'm curious to know what's the issue. Having said that, I think the question you are posing is good, that there is still an element in which sports is politicized. That mashinani, when you go to your home county, you witness like when people want to vie for position, they start sponsoring football teams all over. Football is usually the main one. And at the national level, the politics could be played on a higher mode, probably with more money. I think policies would require that there is an organized framework under which all the sports, whether they are the popular one and the vote-bringing ones like football or any other, that the sports is catered for. For me, two things. Number one, it is time probably that governments, both at the national level and at the county levels, were to realize or realized that sports is actually an industry. You can generate a lot of employment and you can actually be able to generate a lot of money. For example, to date, you wonder why it has been beyond the imagination of even a single governor to say, instead of having this disorganized, haphazard way of football, why would it be so difficult, for example, for a county like Murang'a to say, you sponsor a team which is called, for example, Murang'a County Football Club. And then you try to sponsor it. And you know that would have a very serious impact. At the national level, you have devolutions conference, which as some people are joking, people come with a few jugs of honey and others dried fish. Why can't you have probably inter-county games? And inter-county games, now if you say it's football, it's athletics, I think that would be the way to go, both in terms of making it competitive and in terms of ensuring that when you bring this competition, it becomes necessary now for some investment to be put into sports. Because as of now, it's a backwater kind of thing. Nobody treats it seriously. Finally, is the issue of law, which I think is important I mention. In 2013, the Sports Act was passed with a view to ensure that it complies with the new constitutions. The basic issue about the Sports Act was to ensure that national sports associations are organized around county levels. That is in terms of representation. But the biggest challenge, and I'm saying that because we have been involved in some case up to the Court of Appeal, which could also go to the Supreme Court, is that you are still having a challenge where you are saying, like Athletics Kenya still wants to remain the old Athletics Kenya that would be run by the army, the police, and a few groups around North Rift. And the sports is yet to be nationalized, so that you can now have it as a true national sports. That challenge, I hope, now that my friend Honorable Mungatana is here, that somehow there'll be solutions for that other than the court fights that we have had. Right. But sports, my argument is, the Constitution has provided a framework, the Sports Act has also improved it, but the implementation of it is still wanting.
Definitely an opportunity for Kenyans to enjoy the pride that comes with winning the medals, but also an opportunity for the athletes themselves to bag in some cash. For example, Paris Jepchirchir and Beatrice Chebet and 24 million shillings from Tokyo, and probably with the addition from what she's going to get back home, to get probably very close to 30 million shillings. And opportunities there. Most of our dailies giving prominence to the wins in Tokyo. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the local politics. You're watching.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
It was a Sunday of fiery politics as opposition leaders intensified their criticism of President William Ruto's administration. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka declaring that there can be no meaningful development without justice, while terming government attempts at compensation for victims of violence as empty gestures.
Cannot have development where there is no justice. Haki lazima itutawale. Na hiyo ndio shida.
Kalonzo pointed to democratic transitions in other African nations, insisting that Kenya too must witness change come 2027.
Mimi nasimama wima kusema the change that has invaded this country will happen, like it has happened now in Malawi, in Botswana, recently in Ghana, in Liberia, is going to happen here in Kenya, all to the glory of God.
And former powerful Minister Fred Matiang'i did not mince his words, alleging state complicity in the deaths of Kenyans during recent protests, vowing not to be part of what he termed a compromised government.
Watu wasifikiri eti watu ni wajinga. Alafu sasa tunataka kuanza kufanya abracadabra na maisha ya binadamu. Tuache hii sarakasi. Let us be serious people. This is a serious country.
Talks about a broad-based government. We've been invited to it, and we said no. Let them deal with the massacre with Rai Kwanza. We are all Kenyans. We are not averse to sitting together and to make this country better. Hallelujah.
The remarks comes against the backdrop of heightened political realignment, with opposition leaders under the United Opposition Coalition recalibrating their strategies for 2027. Analysts note that Kalonzo Musyoka and Fred Matiang'i are positioning themselves as key players in the race to succeed President William Ruto. But with government yet to formally respond to the latest accusations, the political rhetoric is expected to escalate as the country inches closer to the next general election. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Yes, indeed. References made to the wave, or so, if some of them describe it as so, the wave of presidential incumbents being defeated at the election immediately after their first term. Wanakirwa, there are a lot of criticism has been directed towards the United Opposition, that beyond their chance of one term, there's nothing really that else that they're talking about. And one wonders if what we were just listening to, apart from the references made in what's happened in Malawi and other African countries, are we beginning to see the formation or a listing of some of the issues that will form the basis of the campaigns towards this election? Justice, issues of compensation, issues of reparations for people who may have lost their lives or being injured in the kind of protests we've witnessed in the last 1 year or so. Because the issue has been that these people are just saying one term, but not the issues. But listening to them, they seem to be pointing at a few things.
Yeah, Fred, thank you so much for that very useful question. You know, Kenyans at times delude themselves in the feeling that we must give counter-manifesto to the existing arrangement of Kenya Kwanza. Ours first is, of course, to hold them to account. This is what you promised the people of Kenya, and we are falling short because of 1, 2, 3. And as we age towards the next general election, we are going to have clear policy in every sector, whether it's health, whether it is agriculture, and all other subsectors that exist within the framework of national development. What is important is we're not just saying one term. We're just saying we could have done better without President Ruto. Why? Because of rampant corruption that every day you see, every day you read, including today, from the Auditor General and Controller of Budget. These are things that happen every day. And also display of arrogance and almost taking it upon themselves that this country belongs exclusively to a certain elite group, not necessarily the rest of us. We are not saying that we want to partake in discussions with them. What we are saying is that do the right thing. When the elections come, we are all going to appeal to Kenyans, and Kenyans will make a decision on the basis of what is counter-proposal, or the scorecard for the current regime, and therefore what is better for this country. When it comes to issues of reparation, whether it's reparation, compensation, or whatever term one wants to call it, it is something that should not even have taken place in the first place. That's why the situation seems to be degenerating to a level that it may not be clear what is really next when it comes to the issue of compensation for those who lost their lives. And remember, Fred, you cannot take away my child and you assume that any amount of money is going to compensate me. The contact between the child and the parent is such an important event that no amount of money shall compensate the life of a child or it's a life of a loved one, because there are many people who are killed, not necessarily because they were demonstrating. Remember that girl Wanjiru, I think in Kiambu, somewhere in Dumberi. She was in her parents' room. I think she was having lunch. Then a bullet just went all the way and killed her. And many others who actually got on crossfire. Remember Kariuki, the guy who was selling, masks. That somebody at point blank shot him, he went down, taken to hospital, in ICU, then eventually he dies. And people want to play that as if compensating somebody. And whose money is it? Who is culpable? Who is to blame? Is it the policeman who shot these people? Or is it the government itself that gave instructions? So we should actually be weighing is it a crime of omission by the government to keep the security proper, or a crime of commission that they decided to kill people just to threaten them with the hope that the next election they are going to have a sort of walkover and have nobody raising a finger. This is something that is fundamental, and we must say no as a people of this country.
All right. Do you believe that, because he made mention of it there, listening to Kalonzo Musyoka, that the team is now buoyed by what happened in Malawi? That seeing now they are talking about Malawi, Liberia, Ghana, Botswana, that wave, if they may call it that, is giving them some impetus of some sort?
No, there are many examples. There are many examples that really do take place. But here, I feel it is not even the question of one term. Is the weight of promises that President Ruto gave to Kenyans. You know, just one needs to just play those clips against what he has done for the last 3 years and what he is not likely to do for the next 2 years. This is something that I fundamentally believe will happen. And if anybody doubts that a sitting president can lose elections, they should pick examples. Apart from that, there is also the question of Zambia, the question of Angola, and the other, even internationally. Trump, Bush, the father of George Bush, the second Bush to become president, and many other places in the world.
Right.
So one term is not unique to Kenya. It is a phenomenon that can take place as long as somebody misadvises himself, thinking that he's the most educated president that Kenya ever had. Learned in what field? Is it in leadership, or is it just another field that has nothing to do with leadership? And you see, you can demonstrate your intellect, your capacity, your experience by churning out good results. But just saying you went to school, many people have gone to school. So what?
All right. Senator, the competition now will be on who owns the narrative. That you can see the opposition now taking over demands for compensation, reparations, and justice for victims of different kinds of police excesses. But the president, to some extent, has also, by creating that task force to compensate the victims, is also running towards owning the narrative as well. Do you feel that, yes, both sides will be talking about the same things, it's just who is talking about it better?
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but honestly, Fred, for me, the opposition is confused, undefined, leaderless, rudderless. Still, up to today, they are not able to tell us who is going to take the mantle. Still, up to today, they are not able to put up what their policies are. You know, on a serious note, they are just jumping on what we are creating. For example, now, and a good question is, why are they not proposing something else? We have proposed a compensation system, you know, for those who suffered the police brutality. You know, they're not coming up with anything new. They don't have intellectuals in that team. They don't have people who sit down to craft ideas and say, Kenya will be better if we did this. You know, they just wait for President Ruto to say something, and then they create a reason to go to church, not to worship, but to go and say something counter whatever it is. And that is unfortunate, because it denies Kenya the competition of ideas. And when you listen to what they are talking about, one of them is saying, I was approached to join the government, and then he goes on to say, we will make it like Malawi, it is going to be one time. I want to tell you, I worked in Malawi as a commissioner for Commerce Competition Commission, which is headquartered in Malawi. And you cannot compare in any way President Ruto and President Lazarus Chakwera. Because let me tell you, this one first of all moved from the pulpit to the State House, the equivalent of their State House. President Ruto has been in this business 15 years as a member of parliament, minister, formed a political party and so on. And he has also served in as a vice president for another 10 years. We are talking about somebody who really sees what and has the experience and the understanding, has gone through the disappointments and the wins, and knows what is supposed to, what tickles what. So there's a very big difference. And then the style of management, you can't compare former President Lazarus Chakwera with President Ruto. Again, because this is a president who goes out of his way to listen to what the people are saying. That's number one. And people criticized him a lot because they were saying he's not staying in State House or what. As usual, the politicians in the opposition will wait for something to be done for them to criticize, you see. And then if you look at how other different way he does his thing is, he proposes ideas, very bold ideas. Ideas, some of them are not new. For example, universal health care. It's not a new idea, but he pushes it in such a way that he knew it was there in the manifestos of ODM and in our manifesto. It was there during Uhuru. Uhuru also tried to do some universal health care, you get. So, but he comes up and says, you know, these people in the past, they have tried, and it hasn't worked. What we need to do is to anchor these ideas in law. And 4 laws were passed at the Senate and at the National Assembly that anchored now the prospect of a proper universal health care for the nation. So you have a president who is way, way, way above. And I think I need to correct this idea about the thinking that president, by saying that he has a PhD, he's not saying something, he's saying a lot. I'm a student myself of PhD, and I know it is not a joke to get that 3rd degree. But apart from that, the context at which he was saying that speech, and I don't know why people try to politicize everything. He just said, look, I have no reason why I should not do the hard lifting, the heavy lifting that this country needs to do. I am younger than most of the presidents who have been here. I am more educated than most of them who have been here. I have a bigger economy, a bigger budget than the people who have been here in this office before. So he was saying that, in a sense, we as a nation have no reason why we should not move forward. Okay. But you know, people pull up one and say, oh, he's saying he's educated, and then you see the zero politics that people keep talking about. Okay. I want to say this, and I'll say it again. Being a leader is a difficult job. And for me, I think it's time that Kenyans realize that our manifestos are really not different. And when you see that somebody is doing something, let us support for the time. Then there'll be time for us to move around and do the politics, to make the choices. But for now, it's not everything that is bad. Let us support what is good.
Yes, but Senator began by saying that the other team is yet at this time to name their flag bearer. And I'm wondering, Wakili, 687 days to the election. Are we expecting too much from the opposition? Is it wrong for them, from the united opposition? I know that I've seen headlines where they're coming up with a name probably for what the coalition will be. For now, let's call them the united opposition. That clutching on straws about, especially looking at things happening elsewhere. Senator says they have nothing really that they're talking about. They are yet to own their narrative. Do you agree with that assessment that 687 days, they're still very fluid and probably they're just clutching on straws?
Actually, sometimes I don't know whether it's a deliberate confusion in which, as a country, we have politicized everything. I think once a government has been elected, its main responsibility is to govern and not to do politics 24/7, to be hosting delegations at State House more than 2 years before the next general election. If this is happening just like that person from Vietnam saying, it is really where you take the criticism that a country that should be off the mic and switch on the lights is still insisting that you should be on the microphone. I have heard from those State House speeches situations whereby you are the incumbent, you are in office. Things that you can be able to do today, you are telling delegations, if you re-elect me, I am going to do this or the other. Failure cannot be more spectacular, if you ask me. And therefore, if you use the standard of politics 24/7 to be the standard against which you are going to judge the opposition, then you will be told, why are you not playing politics as effectively as William Ruto? And to me, if you asked me, it is really regrettable. You saw Kibaki, you elect him, he's off the political radar until the election season comes. That's the way in which it ought to be. Not any other way that every day you are politicking and not working. Hosting delegation is not work. Hosting delegations is actually the assumption that you need to be supported based on politics, not performance. And therefore, for me, even to consider that as a yardstick, it is wrong, because the nominations, for example, for any positions are going to take place in the months of April, May, and June 2027. So where should the pressure be coming for the opposition? That you should be organized, we should be having a candidate. That one is completely uncalled for. But there is a more interesting issue, if you let me. The whole idea of talking about the opposition in this country is mistaken. If you are to talk about the opposition based on the performance of the last election, then you'd be talking about Azimio. Azimio, it was actually the majority, but it didn't produce a president. Now this Azimio, under the constitution, it ought to hold certain positions in parliament and elsewhere, on the basis of which they can hold the president accountable. But what is it that has happened? Parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly, have been completely captured. So that when you go to the National Assembly, and even at the executive level, you're having a scenario where people who ought to be governing, Gachagua and his group, were ejected from government. People who are supposed now to be for constitution and with a manifesto that is supposed to be answering Kenya Kwanza are now in government. That structural problem, dysfunction of government, has to be addressed in an honest manner. Otherwise, to continue running around issues would be mistaken. Two other little points.
Are we expecting too much from the team we're calling United Opposition to carry that mantle or that burden that Azimio should have been carrying?
Yes, it is not their burden, because like a person like Rigathi Gachagua, let's say as an example, he belongs in the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, but he was ejected, isn't it? The people who ought now to be saying, this is the vision for Kenya that was actually voted for, has joined government. And that is a confusion that I'm talking about, that nobody is talking about. Now, about the compensation, I'm so educated. In the compensation issue, and this thing, I'm a human rights lawyer, this is something very important to me. Apart from the fact that some people were killed, those people who are killed, sometimes you cry for them, but you bury them. But the pain never goes. But there's another worse kind of pain that we are having amongst families. those of us who have met them. A lot of young people were shot and maimed. Those young people, some of them had young families. There are some of those people are still going for medication. As we have this political body to talk about compensation, which is the law has already provided for, one would actually be able to wonder, what is the big deal about each of these families with injured people, giving them 2 million each, as we wait for this other body to do this or the other. I go back to George Floyd. You remember George Floyd of the US? When George Floyd was killed, Biden did not form a task force. Biden said the American government apologizes for this unlawful killing and ex gratia. The American government is going to compensate the family a certain amount of money that was mentioned. It was a substantial amount of money. So to me, the president, in the same way that you go to State House and decides every teacher is going to be given a 10 million, a 10,000 bribe, he can also compensate these people without much ado. Finally, on these issues of you are educated, you are this, you are that. Kibaki was not officially a doctor. He was not officially a professor. But anybody, I had a one chance or two to talk to him privately. Those people, even who speaks about him, Kisa Kitui, Anyang' Nyong'o, Kipruto Kirwa, they also say the same thing, that rarely could you come across a man who had the presence of mind and understanding of what people ought to do than Mwai Kibaki. Did he brag to anybody how educated he was? He did not. But finally, I finish by saying, some of us have gone to school substantial enough, and we know a lot about the world. And one of the things we used to say, we were in the same generation with my colleague Honorable Mungatana, there are people we used to call real professors and real doctorates and fake ones. As a lawyer, you could be named. You heard about somebody called Professor Okoth Ogendo, Professor Gai. You heard about somebody called Karistos Juma, Professor Goge wa Thiong'o. There were these guys, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, that you would be able to say that when you hear so-and-so is a professor, you need to hear him for 5 minutes to see what they have done, to indicate they are professors or have doctorates. But sometimes in Kenya, in fact, I wonder whether he should be a doctorate at all, because I see people with little in their minds saying they are doctors. People who have messed up countries saying that they are doctors, they are professors. So the one of the things is, I would actually be more interested to say, the guy calling himself a professor, is there any evidence to say he's really a professor? The Americans, sometimes they keep saying, you read it in The Economist, that a lot of these people who call themselves engineers and doctors in other countries, in those countries they would only be technicians, diploma holders. So even sometimes you don't know whether you are botany in the US, it would just be a diploma.
Right.
So we don't have to break bonds over this.
And I would want to get your opinion on this clutching on straws when it comes to the united opposition feeling now buoyed by what has happened elsewhere, like in Malawi and places like Liberia and Ghana.
Oh, okay. I think you make a feel-good factor because it has been made an issue, 2-term and 1-term. Vindication is an important issue. That if it is happening in Malawi, where the guy, sometimes I've heard some of them saying, was not as bad as our own, and he has been kicked out, there is no way why it should not happen in Kenya. But more importantly about that vindication clutching on straws, the main issue in Kenya, voting, you always need a reason. When President Ruto was elected in 2022, almost everybody I know in central Kenya can be able to give you a reason. We voted for him because of this reason. Now for the re-election, and that's what people are saying, people will have to give a reason. A man whom, going by the standard today, people are borrowing to buy food, businesses are closing. What would be the reason why anybody would say, I have re-elected this person? Yes. To me, that is what should be more concerning than the opposition. Because even the opposition, under the Constitution, speaking as a constitutional lawyer, They can only give a vision of the future. But for the moment, the person with the obligation, with the duty to show you, this is what I am capable of, is the one with the reins of power.
All right. But Kirwa, and thank you for pointing that highlight there on the front page of the Standard. If you look at the dailies today, there's simply no shortage of things that these leaders will be talking about. Citizens borrowing to buy food shows the state of the economy. It's the same story there on the front page of the Standard. Auctioneers smile to the bank as loans defaulters rise. The number of businesses facing the hammer also increases. Top banks fail CBK test on large borrowers' default risk. You can actually see there's a clear line about the state of the economy. This administration keeps saying that everything, the fundamentals are good, everything is okay. After all, the inflation has dropped to the lowest we've seen in so many years. Yet, it is who owns the narrative. Back to that, it is who owns the narrative. The government has been insisting that the economy is okay, but the headlines are saying very different. How come this is not the discussion we're getting from this other side?
Well, there is a disconnect between what the government is telling us and what is happening, in the sense that you could do macro projects and you could deal with macroeconomics, demonstrating that we have moved from here up to here in terms of GDP. But the most fundamental thing is, what is the transformative agenda that you are providing to assist Kenyans to put a square meal a day on their tables? This is something that they need to be telling us. And when the government does borrow almost excessively, both from the domestic market and the external market, what the government is doing is to squeeze away money from people and make the interest rates very high. Remember, at the turn of this regime, the interest rates were oscillating between 8 up to 14. Right now, those of us who are exposed to borrowing, we're dealing with 19% to 24% at some stage. If you are doing a business and your rate of interest is 24%, unless you are gambling. Otherwise, no business can give you that kind of return. In the agriculture sector, for example, the best you can do is 16%. This therefore means if you are borrowing at 24%, and in terms of all the operations, you will only get 16% of the profit. You already have 8% deficit at the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. And coupled with the fact that you made default, then they put a penalty on you, and the money goes up. I remember I did personal borrowing to buy land in Trans Nzoia. I borrowed 4 million. By the time I finished, I had already paid 10 million, and I was given a waiver of 5 million by an AFC. This therefore means, and that is because of the issue of the dollar moving from 35 shillings to 70 shillings. So the government cannot pretend that we don't have a problem. We do have a problem in terms of economic growth. The growth that they are telling us is artificial.
And hence the question, how come this is not the talking point? Because we started this conversation at looking at what issues are going to form the basis of discussions and campaigns going towards 2027. It's about 680.
The most important issue is that when I tell you this is what we are doing, tell me how is that going to transform to getting me a square meal on the table. Mm-hmm. Number two, you cannot say, you remember President Ruto said he was not going to do borrowing. He has now borrowed almost 3 trillion for the last 3 years, almost 1 trillion a year. And almost our whatever ceiling has been made to look like wobbly. Instead of the normal ceiling that we used to have, it is now wobbly. We are almost at 12 trillion. Mm-hmm. This therefore means there is no money that is coming to Kenya. A lot of money is going out of the country.
Right.
For every investment that you are doing, you are losing money to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And this is akin to many problems in Africa, to the extent that for every dollar that seems to be coming to Africa, you lose $7. Mm-hmm. So the net effect is that you are losing $6 in every transaction. This is something that we need to guard. Also allow me, the Honorable Ngatana tells us that there is no comparison between Chakwera and William Ruto. Both of them, they were talking about bottom-up economy. Both of them are claiming to be men of God more than the rest of us, as if they have gone to heaven and come back with a bit of gradation.
Was the head of the Anglican,
I know, I know even
he was a pastor proper.
Yes, but even this other one is pastor fake.
No, he's,
yeah.
He has never claimed to be a pastor.
Of course, he said when he loses the election, he's going to be a pastor.
Yeah, that's not to say he's
yeah. So I'm just giving comparison. The third issue is that both of them were micromanagers. Ruto and Jaquera, they are micromanagers. They actually believe that nothing can happen without their presence. And this therefore means, and also on the issue of us identifying our presidential candidate, it's too early. Kibaki was identified two months with the election. And therefore, you cannot say that we have to go by your yardstick. We know at what time are we going to name our presidential candidate. And for us, it is not about an individual. It's a team of individuals who can provide alternative leadership to the people of Kenya.
Right. Because what we are seeing now are just exchanges, political exchanges from one side to the other. And one wonders, okay, so what exactly are we talking about? What changes are we talking about? Now, when we continue talking about who owns the narrative and what narrative people are talking about, fine, the opposition may not be talking about the economy much, but there's also the risk of this administration trying to talk about how good the economy is when the reality on the ground is totally different. These are 3 different papers owned by 3 different organizations, 3 different kinds of editors, all talking about the state of the economy and talking about how there is pain already. Yet the administration insists that things are good. Don't you see a risk there that even as you own that narrative, people might feel cheated that you're telling us everything is okay, while in essence, we're feeling pain down here?
The 2 of those that you say are different. They are owned by the same organization. But aside from that, I want to say that it is true that we are all struggling because we have had to make very difficult decisions as an administration since we took over. And now things are starting to look up. Okay, we've come from a dark side where we were almost defaulting in terms of the payments. The interest rates were crazy. Our inflation was at 9.6 when we took over. Now we have come down. In fact, at some point we are at 2.5. Now we have gone to 3.6. Now someone, you know, as usual, the opposition, they would not want to agree with us when we tell them that we are getting some things right and the benefits are going to come over time. They'll tell you, no, the macro and the micro are different. So you cannot win with these people. You know, this is the dishonesty and the lack of patriotism. Let me finish.
What about the basics? What about the basics of
do not interfere?
Senator,
because
you have to allow me to intervene.
When the other people who are talking,
what about
you did
the
not
basics?
intervene.
What about the basics?
You want
Senator,
to run a narrative on one side.
It's the only job I do here.
No, but you're
allow me to do that.
I have not answered my question.
What about the basics?
I'm going there.
Of putting
I'm going there.
on the table.
I'm going there.
Yeah.
But I've got to answer these people as well. I mean, otherwise then I shouldn't be here. Let me tell you, we've got to get the correct framework first, proper. If today we had defaulted on let me just explain to you, maybe you're not understanding. If we had defaulted on the payment, you know, the dollar would have spiraled out of control. Where Kenya is owing 1 trillion, it would be 2 trillion overnight. You understand? This is what has happened in Ethiopia. That's why it was degraded. You know, devaluation of your currency can happen just like that if you don't take care of the macros. When we are taking care of the macros, the opposition are saying we are not doing anything. When we say the inflation has come down, the opposition is saying we are not doing anything. We must take care of the macros before we go even to the micros. But I am a sitting legislator, and I represent the people of Tana River. Last weekend, I was at home, okay? I'm sitting with farmers, okay? And they are telling me, now I'm telling you what is on the ground. We used to pay fertilizer 7,000 per bag. We are paying 2,500. We are happy about that intervention, okay? But we are requesting, when you go back to Nairobi, there are these roads within our area. Yeah? that needs to be fixed. This, because this is where we are getting our food, this is where we are selling. And that message I'm carrying to where it's supposed to be. We are sitting with farmers. They are telling me, we used to buy water for our irrigation. I'm talking about Bura irrigation scheme. So much money every month to just pump water into our place, okay? But to our various plots and shambas. Now, the government of Kenya, through President William Ruto, after almost 25 years of promising, they have put money of 1.5 billion to complete the project that was called the Gravity Project, so that now water is able to move down without the cost of diesel, and therefore water is cheaper for our people and they're able to produce more. What am I saying? I'm saying that there could be pain, and yes, there is, but we are getting the correct frameworks so that our farmers are able to produce, our farmers are able to do proper production. And this eventually will lead to food being on the table. We have talked about the roads and securitization of the whole levy fund. For a very long time, the government at the national level was not able to pay the contractors who are on the road. And those contractors left. And the president and his team had to think outside the box and bring back, they had to securitize 7 shillings to make sure now they're able to pay contractors. And as we are talking now, 93% of those contractors were paid and they're able to go back to those roads. And if people are honest, you know, I'm also saying there's opposition and there's politics, but there's also honesty and reality on the ground. If you go to our roads, people are our contractors are on the roads, and people are doing some work. So once these roads are done well, as it should, then we will have more production, we will have more economic activity. So what I'm saying is that it is wrong for people to pretend that president is not doing anything, the country is going down the drain, when the facts remain. Standard & Poor's, you know, which is an international organization. Let me finish.
No, I'm just challenging what you said.
They have moved
Aren't you
Kenya.
doing the same thing? That you're claiming things are better,
They
while
have
in your
moved
admission
Kenya.
there is pain indeed.
Internationally, they have moved Kenya from where it is. They have upgraded Kenya in terms of its credit capacity, you know. IMF has moved Kenya to be the number 6 economy in the entire continent. Let me just say this. When we are doing the macros, eventually the micros will work.
Eventually.
If we fail to do what is right, like if we continued with the policies of the previous administration, where we were paying, you know, we were paying people subsidies. We were subsidizing consumption instead of production. We would not have this country.
Okay.
So
it's about ownership of the narrative, Wakili.
It is the facts. It is the facts. It's not ownership of narrative. It's the facts.
And you're promising relief at some point later.
Fertilizer has gone down. Fred, are you saying that's a narrative?
You've already talked about fertilizer. Let's allow Wakili to come into this conversation.
It's not a narrative.
There's already
facts.
pain. There's pain here.
It's facts.
The issue is both sides, there's a narrative here, but both sides are not maximizing on this. It's part of the narrative the government keeps insisting, fine, everything is okay, and leaves it there.
Yes.
Yeah? Not even acknowledging the pain on the ground. Even the other side, they're not talking about this as much.
I guess sometimes I don't go to political meetings, but sometimes there are certain other meetings where you have been invited in your professional capacity that I've attended, where so much would be spoken about, but you can't control in the evening news what your reporter would come to report. So sometimes I don't know whether we can, because a lot of these pains I hear people talk about, but if somebody insulted the president or said the juicy part is the one that would be reported. So, but the critical issue about the narrative as far as I'm concerned, and the only one that matters, would be, and I think Rigathi Gachagua talked about it the other day with some report, I don't know from which newspaper. He was being asked you people seem to be too obsessed with William Ruto and mentioning him all over and over again. When you hear the speeches of Rigathi Gachagua, most of the times he would be talking about how the government of President Ruto has failed. Yet again, on the same issue, he would be criticized that he's only talking about William Ruto. So that is a political argument, I would also say, that is very difficult to win. Personally, what I would like to do, to call my contribution, is to say that it is regrettable in a country like Kenya, where more than 80% of people have not had an education above Form 4, for you now to be able to be talking to people, standard and poor, or whatever those rating agencies are called, to be told about IMF, to be told about the dollar. That cannot be the basis upon which ordinary people can judge government. There is a simple yardstick across the world. One of them are jobs. Are we producing more jobs? All the metrics show that actually jobs are declining. There are no more new jobs that are being created. You go to cost of living. Is the cost of living, apart from fertilizer, what is the reality on the ground? The reality on the ground is that the cost of living is becoming unaffordable. That is the story where people are saying you have to keep taking loans from Shylocks and everybody else to cater for your children. Go to capitation. What is the true story? Go about pending bills. The figures about pending bills are available. They have not reduced from 600 billion. They are the people that when you go to the newspapers, people are being auctioned. Most of these people are not being auctioned because of whatever reason. They did some work, they didn't receive their money. So we can have an easy way. If it is investment, you go to Rwanda, you go to Ethiopia, you go to Tanzania. People, the presidents in those countries are achieving things of substance for their people. But you cannot have a situation whereby you are overtaxing people, and one Kenyan said, nani hana kwao. People are being forced down the throat to say, this housing program, you'd be a madman if you cannot see the merits of the housing project. Yet these houses, at the end of the day, what are the kind of people who can live there? These are, in other countries, these would be ghettos. But they are the things that are being churned out as the only development thing happening in Kenya, and markets, things that should be done by county governments. So that, and that is why sometimes you feel very saddened. Until the day that you are able to face up to the reality that the level at which this country is being governed is not a fair level. We ought to be the number one around, so that if you are saying people are doing serious things, those serious things should be happening in Kenya. Right. But there's nothing serious that is happening in Kenya. The cost of financing is unaffordable. And what is this translating? I have worked in Nairobi town. My office is along Kaunda Street. I have worked there for 30 years, about 25 years. What is it that we are seeing today? What we are seeing today is whereby at 8 p.m., the CBD is for all practical purposes shutting, where you find virtually all the restaurants that you can be able to see. There is nobody taking tea. It is not because, even when it was very cold. So that when you are reaching that level, honesty, which my learned colleagues has talked about, would demand, can you at least say, we have these problems.
We're going through tough times.
Yes, so that you can give solutions. But now, when you say, I do not have money for fees for my children, hospitals are unaffordable, then you are told, we are building houses in Mukuru. This is insensitive. Right. And it shouldn't be happening.
Right. And our time is up, but I can afford about a minute and a half for you each for your final comments. And let's stick to that so that we can each get an opportunity. We start with you, Bwana Kirwa, on this issue of who owns the narrative and what is the narrative going forward. 680 days to election day.
I think the most important thing is for all of us to be honest with ourselves. Where the government has not done so well, they should be able to say, yes, we could have done better. And for those of us in the opposition, we are preparing to take over. And definitely we don't lack intellectuals. as Mungatana tried to say at the beginning, we have enough intellectuals in our teams.
Senator?
The truth of the matter is that there is some progress that is being made in this country. And I wish people knew what would happen if we defaulted on our international obligations. We have introduced the changes within the agricultural economy in this country. And it's only people who don't want to see and they want to portray a certain image about Kenya that they will compare with Rwanda, Tanzania. All these economies, you have to combine all of them for you to talk about the budget of Kenya. And I'm saying roads are back on repayment of roads is going on and they are being constructed. I have said we have introduced the universal health care. I have said we have employed more teachers than since independence up to now. No other administration has done that. And I'm saying that we were in this affordable housing construction. And we asked these people, should we stop these things? You know, because some people are saying this is nonsense. What we are doing is nonsense. And I want to challenge some of these people. Ruiru, the new housing project, they have all been taken. Immediately, they were completed. We visited the ones in Nyali. And the number of young people who would have been idle are employed in this sector. So let me say this by conclusion, that this country is not going to be led, and people will not accept leadership from people who are only talking negative about this nation. This nation is doing well, and this nation needs vision carriers like our athletes who are talking about our good performance and who are able to come and tell us that, yes, we are having these challenges, but we are making some progress. And I want to challenge the opposition today to tell us what more can they do in agriculture, what more can they do in finance, not to come here and say, you know, when we were younger, we used to say, why is my dad always quiet, you know? Then we grew up and we became husbands and we learned that we need to keep quiet sometimes in the house. And I don't need to explain further and tell you that some of these people are just yelling. They're not having ideas. Okay. One day they will grow up and they will come into government and they will know that it's not about yelling one term and whatever that will make this country move forward. We need solid ideas and we have proposed them. Can they come up with better ideas so that we can follow them if they have any?
Thank you, Senator. Finally, Wakili.
Yes. Sometimes when you listen to people close to government, you wonder whether to weep or whether they have read the Constitution. Now, when you talk about markets, when you talk about housing, when you talk about health and agriculture, all these are devolved governments, are devolved functions.
But there is a clear provision for coordination. Working national and county governments are supposed to work together. Deny that.
So that basically,
deny that.
What you are saying, when you say all your investment as government has been put into these 4 areas, all of them are devolved. Two things comes to mind. You are taking oxygen from the counties, and 2, you are doing a job that is not yours under the law.
No.
So you arrive at a scenario in which, if you are not doing your job and there are other functions, the majority of functions, 90%, are actually given to national government. So the questions would be, who is doing the 90% and what successes are there? That is where the real story lies. Because now even when you go to security, you are hearing more than thrice. You can think that sometimes you are quoted out of context. Where Mutchuba Kipkomen is saying, oh, you need to help the police, we do not have money, give them something for tea, give them something for fuel. These are what we call evidence elements of failure.
Right.
When you go to the issue of the final point, when you go to the issue of cost of living, ensuring you have policies that would make Kenyan work, you would not hear any ideas, and particularly from the president himself. You keep on saying, tutajenga manyumba zingine zaidi, we shall do this. This is, you know, I call it, you know those things that you say, this should be the achievement of MCA. You know, we want presidential ambitions. Okay. There is no presidential ambitions in
Thank you, Akili.
And it's regrettable.
Okay. And before we end the show this morning, we had asked on one of our social media pages, Facebook, what impact could the Matiang'i factor have on Kenya's political landscape ahead of the 2027 election? Just 3 or 4. Gladson Obwamu says Matiang'i is just as Maraga, people who are only good in the public service as technocrats, but not as political leaders. They have no might nor influence outside their local areas. Hence, I see no aura, no swagger to say anything tangible in 2027. Walter Matthew Tuitoek says impactless. Daniel Shitandi Onyango says he won't have any impact. Firstly, he doesn't have numbers to make an impact. Secondly, he has no party, so his supporters don't know where he belongs. Thirdly, he looks like someone's project. If he chickens out of the united opposition, he'll be labeled as a project. Godix Munexi says, in fact, I thought, what will he do is, but unfortunately, I saw all he did. Okay. Do challenge there. And the final one here. Final one by Chimbo Magera. He says, is this the same as a Martha effect? As it stands, very little, because Matiang'i is banking on his reputation as super CS, but elected office is a different thing altogether. All he is doing is presenting his CV from afar instead of engaging voters on the ground in all parts of the country. Just some of your feedback on the question we asked, but the conversation mostly was about the narrative and going forward towards 2022. Who owns the narrative and what are we talking about? On the front page of the Standard today, costly swindle matters government tendering, but this one more concerning when citizens borrow to buy food. That's the front page of the Standard. On the Star, auctioneers smile to the bank as loan defaulters rise. Speaking to the same, 2 different papers owned by different people, different editors altogether. A third one, a different owner, different editorial system altogether. This is a Daily Nation. CS expire master and 10 billion shilling. Homeowners in distress. Top banks fail CBK test on large borrowers default risk. That's a Business Daily. This morning, we've been having Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister Kibaki One administration, Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, and Wakili Kibe Mungai as our panelists. Asanteni sana, gentlemen, for your time at TV47. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. This is Where We Talk this morning. Good morning.